Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the entree musician, and so are you. And so is this fabulous young lady from Melbourne, Australia. I'm telling you, you are going to absolutely enjoy the conversation we're going to have. This is Sharl, and I can tell you that she was on our sister station and our sister show called Artist Impact. She sent in a beautiful song, and it was so lovely, her approach to everything. I just wanted to have an opportunity to have a great conversation with her here at the Entree Musician. Sharl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Jerry. Thank you so much for inviting me on this show. Really excited to be here today.
Well, we're excited to have you. That's for sure. I believe the song that you sent in to us was I Fell in Love. It was just a poignant song. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the album City Lights that you just released?
Sure. So I Fell in Love was the lead single from the album City Lights. I released I Fell in Love kind of about a year ago now, I think. And there was a music video as well, which discussed on Artist Impact. That song, it's kind of got a trap beat, but it's at the same time quite very vulnerable, kind of discussing difficult time, but the growth through all of that. And that song was from the album City Lights, which I released towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
You can listen to that on any of the streaming services now, but that album was something that really came together during my time in lockdown when I started songwriting again. The songs all about my reflection on life, love over the last few years, and my experience of moving to Melbourne and kind of settling into a new city.
So where did you move from then? If you moved to Melbourne, where did you move from?
Yeah, that's right. I moved from Adelaide. For those of you not from Australia.
Right. So how long have you been writing music? Is this something that you were in as a child and through your formative years?
Yes, it's been a long time. So I started music when I was very young. I played the piano and violin, but pop music has always been my passion. So I love pop since I was a kid, and that was music which has really kind of carried me through life. So it's what I feel I just engage with more naturally. I love how I can relate to it. It really carries me away, even though it's so seemingly so simple. So I think sometimes people overlook pop and they think it's just very easy, simple, short songs. But I love that there can be so much depth to it. So that's what really draws me to pop and keeps me engaged with that my whole life. So I have been really doing a lot of music since I was young, but as I grew into kind of my teenage years, I got more interested in songwriting, making my own music, recording original music, and I realized that that's just what I love doing the most. So I love having the whole process of songwriting through to recording it, and then seeing that track really come to life, and then having the full track at the end. So just having that final song that really represents me as an artist, I think that's one of the most rewarding things to be able to do.
So what do you like best? Do you like performing best, or do you like writing and recording best?
I couldn't pick one. They're just so great in different ways. I suppose at the moment I'm doing more of writing and recording because I'm actually working on a second album at the moment. But performing is just a completely different buzz, different experience, and it's amazing to be able to share the music with a live audience in a different way. So I love doing both.
So how often do you get to perform in Melbourne? I'm sure all the restrictions are off, like during the shutdown, everything was closed, but you're back on point and able to book gigs and everything?
Yeah, so things are opening up here a lot more than before. I think it's been exciting to see kind of big artists coming back as well. We've had some artists come to Melbourne. So we had a big event in Melbourne at the end of last year, and I was able to perform as part of their entertainment at that time. It was great.
Excellent. That's excellent. Now, I've noticed that at least the songs that I've listened to, and I haven't listened to the entire album, but, you know, in checking you out and the videos that you have on YouTube and whatnot, most of your songs are about vulnerability and that somehow that love that is, but has gone awry a little bit. What is your approach to songwriting? Are you writing from personal experiences? Are you writing from the stories of others? Or how do you approach your songs?
For City Lights, it was all kind of drawing on my experience because I felt that I really had something to say as an artist based on my life and wanting to kind of reflect on everything that had happened. So I think I do draw a lot from myself. Increasingly, as I get to the music that I'm going to release this year, I've been kind of drawing inspiration from the sound of music itself. So for some of the work that are going to come out, working with my producer, I started writing in more of a top-lining way. So he would send me some sounds and beats for inspiration, and then I would use that to kind of feel an emotion from there and then write using that as a starting point. But I think even when I do that, I do tend to kind of draw a lot from how I feel, because I think that's the most place, and that's kind of naturally where it will come from for me.
Absolutely. Do you have any songwriting partners, or are you pretty much writing from the one dimension, just yourself and your heart?
I tend to write a lot just by myself. I have done some co-writing in the past or some collaborations, but for my solo music, I tend to like to just draw from within. I think that's the most original and authentic, is be more specific to you. But what I like about pop, as I said, is that I think it's a genre that people can relate easily to. So I love that even though it may be my story, I hope that when people listen to it, they can find something that relates to them. Or I think sometimes it's a big compliment when people feel that what you've written really applies to them as well, and that everyone can kind of share in that.
Absolutely. And that was the other thing that I was going to say. I believe you touched on it earlier. You know, because people's perception of pop is that it's paper thin and there's no real substance to it. It's like ear candy, but the lyrics that you know, just place upon the simpler melodies are just outstanding. So you have this weight and this gravity of these deep lyrics, and then it's danceable and it's attractive enough to where, you know, I think you've hit a right chemistry. I really do dig your music.
Thanks so much, Gary. That's so nice to hear that, because I think that's exactly what I strive for. And in some respects, it's also kind of what comes very naturally to me.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to hear that you can appreciate how it all fits together. And
yeah, and I'm an old jazz guy, so I mean, you know, if you can get my demographic to kind of draw into what you're saying, I think you've struck some gold there. It's very universal how you're writing.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah.
So what are your plans for the future? I mean, no doubt you're in this to win it. You have a lot of substance, and you seem like a tenacious young woman. So is this the goal? This is, I'm headed for stardom and I'm not looking back, or is this something that you're still kind of building foundational steps
you. I would love to take it all the way to the top. So, you know, my dream would be to be released in a major label scale, and to just list my music with a lot of people across the globe. I would love to be established as a songwriter, perhaps collaborate more with other artists and help write for them. I think at the same time, though, I mean, you would know as well, the music industry is very tough. It's a tough business, and I think it's important to also focus on your own standards. So I think at the end of the day, if none of that happens, I have to be happy with the quality of the music and the art that I'm putting out. So there's also a part of me which will try and just focus on that and be happy with whatever I'm achieving, as long as I'm doing everything to the best of my ability and at a level that I'm happy with as well.
That's absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have imagined you answering any differently. I mean, that is a wonderful answer. Now, in your experience in this tough industry, what have you found to be the most rewarding for you thus far? What experience has been, oh, this is why I'm here?
I think the most rewarding thing has been, I would say two things. So I think one is feedback from people who listen to my music. So whenever they say they can relate, enjoy it, that they understand what I'm doing as an artist, I think that's a real privilege to hear that, and definitely reminds me why I'm doing it in the first place. The other has been, and I think this is true of any industry, is when I do have the chance to meet people who are higher up in the business, who share their experiences in a very genuine and encouraging way. That also reminds me that kind of the realities of the industry, but that it's something that I still want to pursue and keep going with.
Understood. So let's flip it then. What has been the most challenging experience that you've had to undergo in this tough place?
For me, I think the biggest challenges are very much mental challenges that I have inside during the whole process, and that can be related to quite a lot of facets of music. So for one thing, during the recording process and music production, I'm not sure that people who don't create themselves might not have picked up on this, but every little thing that we do within the track is very intentional choice. So it can be difficult sometimes to see where to draw that boundary between trying to improve things and needing to leave it alone. And I think also within that, it's hard to draw the boundary sometimes between finding inspiration from other people in the industry and also needing to focus on yourself and where you're at and to not worry about other people at all. So for me, I think there's just a lot of mental things along the way that I find difficult. But unfortunately, I think that's something that's just integral to the creative process and not likely to go away. So it's something that I just need to keep in check as I work on music. For me, however, I think it's all completely outweighed by the benefits of being involved. So as I said, I just love the whole process of making music, the finished result, and being able to share that with people and hearing them enjoy it. So for me, I think I'll just have to deal with those challenges forever.
You are a very, very serious artist, Sharl. You really are. You're very focused, and you know what you want, and you're going for it. You must have a strong team around you or behind you, making sure that all of the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, huh?
I would say it's kind of very small team, but people who I work really well with. And I think that's really important. Sometimes you may work with other people who don't kind of have your best interests at heart. Or sometimes, I mean, I've had that experience of working with a label before, and sometimes you might think that that's a better place to be. But if there's so many different artists and bands that need to be managed and all kind of vying for the time and attention, sometimes it's just best to surround yourself with people who really focus on your music, really kind of have a shared vision and work really well together. So I'm very happy with where I am at the moment.
So are you signed to a label now, or are you just on your own?
I'm just working independently at the moment.
Excellent.
As I said, it's something in the future, maybe I would love, as I said, I'd love to work with a major label. However, in the process of getting there, I think I will think very carefully about where the best fit for me is and just make sure that whatever I'm doing is in line with being able to put out my artistic vision and doing what's best for my music.
That's excellent. You said earlier that it was important for you to uphold your principles and your values. So I really appreciated you saying that, because oftentimes when an artist is seeking a label or wanting label attention, he or she may compromise what they thought were firmly held values in order to get the fame or the fortune, so to speak. But it's good to hear you have your head squarely on your shoulders and know who you are, and not want to compromise that. I mean, I really feel that that's absolutely excellent.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah.
Now, so you're a pianist, but do you play more instruments than the piano, or is that the one that you really sit down to compose, or do you try other instruments as well?
Piano is the one where I will songwrite at. I do play the violin as well. I have dabbled in other instruments throughout my time as well. So I can play drum kit basics, and I used to play the organ as well. The instrument that I'd love to learn is the guitar, though. I think that one's really integral to pop music, but I haven't progressed much more past very basic chords.
So maybe in a future video, we'll see you rocking out on guitar.
I think I'll have to put in quite a lot of work before that happens, maybe.
What about the studio environment? Are you going into a studio environment? Do you have your own studio with your own equipment and DAW, and you record yourself, or how does that work?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm recording myself. I have worked in studios in the past, but when I became more experienced at recording myself, I realized that it's actually the optimal environment for me. I love the flexibility and kind of having total control over that part of the process.
Yeah.
It's been really great for me. So now that I do that so much, it's hard to get me back into the studio.
That's really cool. So what type of equipment are you recording on? What type of DAW and software do you prefer?
Very simple. So I'm just using Reaper to record. I think, as I'm not a music producer myself, so I'm kind of, all I need to do is the audio recording, so that's enough for me.
Gotcha. And so have you worked with the same producer for a number of years, or do you, skip or hire a different producer for each project that you want to do?
So I'm working a lot with Daniel Bowen now, and we've worked together for a couple of years. And when I worked on City Lights, there were actually 3 producers for that album. And at that stage, I was just trying to see who I worked with best. I thought about having lots of people to bring different styles to different tracks. But actually, I found that Daniel and I worked really well together. So he ended up producing most of the album, and then going forwards as well, he's producing all the music for me at the moment. We're working together on a second album, which is almost finished. And as I said, we just gel really well. We have a very smooth creative process now. And it's also very easy for us to kind of experiment and working in different ways. So for some of the tracks in the new album, I wrote them with the kind of top lining approach to the beats that he was sending me. And it's just really great to have a producer who I work really well with like this.
Wow. Well, that's great. I would like to meet Daniel. Daniel does a great job, and like I said before, your track sounds excellent, excellent. So let's get off the beaten path for just a second. Tell me a little bit about your family. Do you come from a musical family? Do you have siblings who are also in the music industry, or are you the lone ranger out of your family?
Um, no one else is in the creative industries, but my older brother is a musician himself. So actually, the reason I got into music in the first place was that he started learning the piano and violin. He's a few years older than me, so at the time I just wanted to copy everything that he did. So that's what started me on music. He did classical music to quite a high level, and he still enjoys playing guitar and piano as well. And he does some jazz music, so it's nice being able to relate to that. But I think we've kind of made off in more pop and songwriting as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I'm so grateful that you were able to come and hang out on the Entre Musician. I'm going to do everything that I can to let people know about Sharl, especially pop music enthusiasts, because if you can get a jazz guy to turn his head, then, you know, you've got something definitely going. But I appreciate you, and I know that you do a lot of different interviews, so I always ask this at the end of all of the conversations I have, and that's, was there a question that you thought I was going to ask you or hoped that I would ask you and you were ready for it and I didn't ask for whatever reason? So is there anything that you want to say that's like, doggone it, Jerry didn't ask me that and I wanted to say this?
You know, not really. I think, as you said, because I am doing a lot of interviews at the moment, I just rock up and just answer on the spot and without really preempting what might come up anymore. I think from a artist point of view, I should probably say that I built my plans. So for this year, I've got another single coming out in April, which is called Entitled. It's another kind of disco pop song, and it's in the semi-finals of the International Songwriting Competition.
Excellent.
And then after that, I'll be releasing songs from the new album. So very excited about that. As I said, it's kind of a evolved electropop sound. I've been working very closely with Daniel to come up with something exciting. So I hope people like that. And also working on a couple of music videos for it. So again, very excited. I think you'll know from my previous projects that I really enjoy putting my all into the music videos. So it'll be something good, and I'll definitely get in touch with you again at that point to let you know about it.
I appreciate that very, very much. You absolutely stay in touch, and I do hope you come back to visit the Entre Musician too as well after the project is released and you've become a big, big star, and you won't ignore you know, the little places that you've come from. Okay.
No, definitely not.
Well, I thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you, Jerry.
I wish you absolutely nothing but the best. I mean that.
You too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Entre Musician. Isn't she wonderful? This is Sharl. Make sure that you go to her website, sharlmusic.com, and make sure that you buy her wonderful project, which is called City Lights. Check out all of her videos and tell everybody you know about her music, especially if you're into pop music. And again, if you're not, if that's not your genre, it wasn't mine either, but I find her lyrics really magnetic, so you definitely want to give her a shot. Come on over to theentremusician.com to tell 10 people you know and 12 people you don't that you hang out with us. And don't forget to pick up your copy of my best-selling book. It's called The Path of the Entre Musician, 9 Keys to Unlock Your Mindset, Discipline, and Focus. It's available on Amazon. Get yours today. And you know me, I'm Jerry B. I am the Entre Musician, but what's most important is so are you. We will see you again next time. God bless.